Donald Trump was having a psychotic meltdown late last night once again, as it has now been uncovered that there appears to be at least an additional 1.2 million records in the Epstein files, not documents, records, and that's just from one hard drive. Based on my experience in dealing with cases that have vast document productions of a scale and scope like this one, back when I was a litigator, my view is that there's probably tens of millions of records, not just documents, of records out there on multiple hard drives that are still being covered up by the Trump regime. And how do we know this number? Well, you look through some of the documents that were posted, and still not a lot of documents were posted, although in the latest batch data set 8, we did get some information that I think at least moved the ball forward. But take a look at this document right here. EFTA 0013397. This is an email from October 30th, 2020 from federal prosecutors involved in the Epstein case and the Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution. And here's what it says. Following up on our earlier phone conversation, a hard drive with the following productions is being sent to SDNY via FedEx with the following production in the U.S. versus Epstein workspace. SDNY, Southern District of New York. And it lists 1 through 7, and it has SDNY production 008, 009, 0010, 0011 is a 6-part production. It says 0012, 0013, 0014. It goes on to say there are approximately 1.2 million records currently being imaged. The images will be available on Monday, November 2nd, 2020 at the earliest. The production of the records will begin as soon as the images are available in the workspace. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. By the way, is there an SDNY production 001 through 007? Are there any documents outside of 0014? Does it go to 0035 or 0055? Also, this is just the Bates range bearing the prefix SDNY. What about the Southern District of Florida? What about other files that may not be SDNY? That's why I believe you could be dealing with tens of millions of records right here that the Trump regime is currently covering up. Also, take a look at Ryan Goodman's post right here. He goes, this is among the most important list of documents the public needs to see. And he points to an email that was sent on May 6, 2020 from federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York that refer to various memos regarding Epstein and Ghislaine. Memo on co-conspirators we could potentially charge the Monday after Epstein's death, delivered that Wednesday, 7 pages. Co-conspirator update memo, December, 86 pages. Corporate prosecution memo, December, never discussed, 13 pages. Prosecution memo, April, hasn't been discussed in the 3 weeks since we sent it. Perjury NM memo will be another 30 pages. So in other words, what this is saying is there's a bunch of other co-conspirators, rich, wealthy men, politicians, others who knew Epstein, who were co-conspirators, who were involved in this ring, and that the SDNY was thinking about prosecuting them. And there was never actually a prosecution, but there was a thought of prosecuting them. There may have been enough evidence to prosecute these individuals. Now, do you remember when Kash Patel testified before Congress, when he went before the Senate and he said, nope, there's actually not enough, we don't know about any co-conspirators here. Remember he said that? By the way, you go look at some of these other documents and it explicitly mentions co-conspirators as well. Look at this email, July 9th, 2019. This is from the federal prosecutors. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida and served grand jury subpoenas. 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, 1 in Connecticut were located and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding, which attempts have been made. 1 is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. There were all these other co-conspirators who were involved in this child sex trafficking ring that the DOJ was considering prosecuting. This is the type of stuff that needs to be released. And again, you remember what Kash Patel said when he testified? He goes, we don't have any of that information. We know nothing about it. There's a wide-scale cover-up. And the MeidasTouch Network is leading the way, I think, in exposing this and doing some of the work that corporate news does. And hat tip to all the other independent media who's doing the great work here, right? I mean, you just take a look right here. Just go look at what Trump was posting back in the day. Remember, Trump posted this January of 2024? This was Trump's post, January 2024. He goes, "This is what Democrats do to their Republican opponents, who's leading them by a lot in the polls. This is AI, and it is very dangerous for our country. Also, I was never on Epstein's plane or at a stupid island." You're saying you were never on Epstein's plane? How about the document that MeidasTouch has been talking about over and over again from federal prosecutors, January 8th, 2020? For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported. By the way, I could go into the Larry Nassar documents. I can go into a lot more. I've done those ad nauseum. You've seen me do those reports here. By the way, have you subscribed to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel? Help us get to 6 million subscribers. We're on our way. As you know, the Trump regime has been attacking the MeidasTouch network. The DOJ has been attacking the MeidasTouch network. They've been making social media post after social media post saying, "Oh, we posted false documents." No, we didn't. We posted the documents that are in the frickin' files. And we're going to stand up fearlessly against the DOJ and Trump's intimidation. By the way, one of the things that was reported last night, Axios broke this story, is that the White House, Donald Trump himself at the White House, took control of the U.S. Department of Justice's official social media account on X, formerly Twitter, and they are making the posts now from the White House. Quote, "In an effort to temper and counter narratives relating to the ongoing release of documents related to the case against convicted sex offender Epstein, that the White House now runs the DOJ social media account." Once upon a time, the DOJ was supposed to be an independent agency, and now the White House runs their social media account, and they attack the MeidasTouch network. If you asked me this when I was a lawyer litigating cases against the government back in the day, I would tell you, whoa, whoa, whoa. But here we are, folks, and Donald Trump ranting and raving like a lunatic all last night. As I said, a psychotic meltdown. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm picking the words that meet what's actually taking place. Here's what Donald Trump was writing last night. Who has the worst late night host? CBS, ABC, or NBC? They all have three things in common: high salaries, no talent, really low ratings. Stephen Colbert is a pathetic train wreck with no talent or anything else necessary for show business success. Now, after being terminated by CBS, but left out to dry, he has actually gotten worse, along with his non-existing ratings. Stephen is running on hatred and fumes, a dead man walking. CBS should put him to sleep. Now it is the humanitarian thing to do. Oh, Donald, we don't realize that you're threatening his life. Oh, you're just saying put him to sleep or put him out like a dog or whatever. Oh, got it, Donald. You could feign ignorance while you and your regime are not just stoking the political violence. You are the political violence, you terrorist, evil terrorist regime. Donald Trump goes on to say, if network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party, shouldn't their very valuable broadcast licenses been terminated? Enough. Isn't this guy just such a freaking loser? Like, all these people are just losers. Why did we I know you didn't, but like this country, let this group of freaking losers act like they were cool and like take over culture and take over the White House? These people are freaking losers who behaves like this. Like, I wouldn't want children to, like, a bad behaved child doesn't behave the way Donald Trump behaves. It's just so sickening and grotesque to me. But you tell me what you think right here. Oh, by the way, the DOJ is scrambling scrambling, I tell you, to find holiday volunteers to redact the Epstein files. As Axios says, there's 700,000 files that they claim are documents that they need to go through. No. I just showed you that there's at least 1.2 million in Bates Range's SDNY production 08 through 014. There's probably a lot more than 700,000, and not documents, records. Records could be multi-page documents. So that's why I think we're dealing with tens of millions. I think anyone who said 100,000 completely, the DOJ's lying about there we go again. They lie about everything, but they're clearly lying, in my opinion, about the scale and scope of what is in these files. Now, few data points I want to point out to you. What did Ro Khanna, Democratic Congress member, tell me when I had the opportunity to interview him? He talked about how you've got the DOJ releasing the names of survivors, which they're not allowed to do, while redacting the names of the perpetrators. And he talks about the documents that need to be released. Play this clip.
This is what it's all about. The FBI interviews with the survivors. You know what is appalling? You've got Justice releasing the names of survivors. They're literally releasing the names of survivors, which they're not allowed to do by law, but they're not releasing the FBI interview files with those same survivors. And the FBI interview files have the names of other men. They have the names of the Wall Street tycoons, the politicians who visited Epstein's rape island and who either engaged in the rape of these underage girls or covered it up. How do I know? Because I've talked to the survivors. I've talked to the survivors' lawyers who were at the FBI interviews, who gave these names, who are saying release them. But you have the Department of Justice more concerned with protecting the reputations of these men than they are protecting the reputation of these survivors. So, I hope everyone listens to your 90 seconds, because that's what it's all about. It's not, we don't need all 300 gigabits. We don't need all the documents. That's what the law calls for. What we need is those interview memorandum. And if people don't think it's a hoax, it's not, because I've talked to the survivors, then just release the interview memos and we'll put it to rest. But I guarantee you, once those interview memorandum are released, there are going to be other powerful men implicated.
Then you had Epstein survivor Haley Robson, who said she was a former Trump supporter, and now she's calling for Trump to be impeached. Here, play this clip.
Talking about Trump, right? Just to be clear, in terms of pointing the fingers
Yes.
or having, yes, exactly. And
Yes.
you've said that before, that you have never heard anything to implicate him.
Exactly. It wasn't until I started meeting some of the other women from different countries and different states where I really started to hear their stories. And of course, as a survivor sister and going through what I went through, I do believe these girls. But at the end of the day, I am no longer supporting this administration. I redact any support I've ever given to him, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. I am so disgusted with this administration. I think that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both need to resign. And I would love to see number 47 get impeached over this. And I'm just waiting.
Should Pam Bondi be held in contempt, you think, for the release of
She
these
needs
files?
to be held more than in contempt. Absolutely.
Okay, Haley, stand by.
But do you recall what Kash Patel said during his testimony to Congress? Here's what he told. Here's what he told Senator Kennedy, MAGA Republican from Louisiana. Play this clip.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
But folks, Kash Patel, I know he's super busy flying around in private jets on the taxpayer dime. Super busy doing that. And he's super busy doing podcasts with his young girlfriend who he drives around in taxpayer-funded BMW X5s. Yeah, he got a fleet of BMW X5s. He's got a private jet that taxpayers pay for right now, as he and Pam Bondi and this whole group of war criminals and people who are covering up child sex trafficking rings go around in their private jets. And here's what Kash Patel's focused on with his young girlfriend in their podcast. Here, play this clip.
On a personal level, of course, I wish we didn't have to deal with the attacks. Like, she should be out there touring and crushing it on the country music stage, as she always has been. And she shouldn't have to deal with the collateral consequence of just being the FBI director's girlfriend. But I think with the hypersensitive nature of the media, especially the social media space, people come at you, because it takes me back to like when I first did a investigation of consequence, Benghazi or Russiagate or what have you. They always said it's going to be the loudest when you're over the target. And yeah, it's been the loudest for us in recent history.
Yeah, and by the way, while all of this is taking place, the Trump regime announces it will start seizing the pay of defaulted student loans starting in January. As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes, I'm sure this will be popular. 5 million people are in default right now. The Department of Education estimates as many as 10 million by the end of next year because of the job market. So there you have it, folks. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.